Well, good morning, friends. How's everybody doing today? Let's spend a few minutes talking about coping. Coping with something bad that just happened, something tragic, maybe even something traumatic. Okay. Now, I'm not talking about solving the issue. I could never do a chapter on solving the issue because it depends on what the issue is. It depends on what strengths you have, what obstacles, what resources are available to you. It's just that would be too big. You need individualized attention for that sort of thing. Now, while we're talking about resources, though, let me do say this. I hope you have a really good psychologist or counselor that you can turn to whenever you need them. There's a physician by the name of Dr. Deepak Chopra. He's very active in the idea of integrative care and taking care of the whole person. Make sure you check out his work. It really is fantastic stuff. I remember one talk that he was giving. He mentioned that every person should have a really good primary care physician and a really good psychologist. And that was so refreshing to hear an MD say that. So if you don't have that established, folks, I strongly encourage you to consider doing so. But back to we're just coping with this event. And so the question becomes okay, how do we do that? The early stages. How do we keep our head above water as we're trying to work to make this better? There's also some things that we could do to make it worse. Let's actually start there. Most of these are no brainers, but by golly, I'm going to go over them anyway. Folks, whenever you're initially coping, stay away from drugs, stay away from turning to alcohol, indiscriminate relationships, just so that you get some attention to take your mind off of the bad thing that just happened, heading out and gambling. You know, we have a natural tendency as human beings that if you put your hand on the hot stove, ow, you get your hand off the stove. Well, I hope you do. If you don't, we need to talk. All right. You get away from that pain. We also have a tendency to try to do that with emotional pain. And you know what? I have never known that to work. If you try to just avoid, try to escape from that emotional pain, that's where it tends to come back and bite us in the rear. Okay. It's so important to fully experience the pain, regardless of how intense it is, so that eventually we can hope to transcend the pain. And that if we can transcend the pain, now we hope to heal and even grow from the pain. You may have heard me say that in a previous chapter. But all that to say this, folks, careful that you're not engaging in activities to simply avoid or escape the pain. Too much of that can actually slow down the healing process. Okay, so what are some things that you can do to cope, to make it a little bit easier as you're trying to sort through all of this, other than making sure that you've checked in with your physician if needed and your psychologist or counselor? Number one, eat healthy. Now, I know that might be funny coming from a bigger bellied guy here, but it is so important to eat healthy after a major stressor, after a tragedy, after a traumatic event. Why? We have a tendency to go for higher carb, higher sugared foods, don't we? Think about it, right? The reason we do that is not only can it boost up dopamine, it can also actually boost up serotonin levels as well. We do that in essence to kind of self medicate, to try to feel better. That approach actually ends up working against us. I really want you to get rigid, get OCD about eating healthy right now. Good healthy proteins, especially things higher in omega 3s, Mediterranean diet, DASH diet. We combine those two to what we call the mind diet. Eat as healthy as you can right now. Like I said, good proteins, high vegetables, some fruit every now and then. But seriously, get rigid about eating healthy. Eating healthy gives us the nutrition we need to build good, healthy neurochemistry, which governs our emotional reaction to so much of this. Okay, so make sure you're eating as healthy as you possibly can. Number two, try your best to sleep healthy. Now, depending on the nature of this negative event, this stressor, this tragedy, that might be tough, okay? But try your best to sleep healthy. Don't undersleep if you can help it, but also don't oversleep. Some people will use sleep as a way to escape or avoid the pain. Okay, try to maintain that healthy sleep cycle. Now, if you are having a hard time falling asleep, can you do a melatonin supplement? Well, as always, talk to your doctor. But remember, melatonin is your brain creates its own. A melatonin supplement can help kickstart the system a little bit in low doses. Don't take too much. Uh, but remember that melatonin is a sleep regulator, not a sleep inducer. Okay. So talk to your physician to see what might be out there that can help you. If this tragic event has created a lot of nightmares, believe it or not, there's some low dose antihypertensive medications. One that we frequently use is called prazosin, that might be able to decrease the frequency of your nightmares and then maybe get some better rest that way. Also, there are some other medications such as trazodone or a low dose quetiapine or mirtazapine that may help you sleep a little bit better just as we're trying to resolve what's going on. I tend to tell people to stay away from the benzodiazepines or zolpidem, that sort of thing, only because they can be so habit forming. And the more that you use it, the more your brain might not want to sleep without it. Folks, talk to your physician and see what's right for you. Ultimately, though, we need you to sleep. It's during your deep sleep, during stage 3 sleep. That's where the brain truly gets recharged. That's when the battery's getting recharged. You need that in order to be dealing with the stress that you're going through. So again, eat healthy, sleep healthy. Number 3, exercise. Exercise helps to reset the stress system. Okay. If whenever we're stressed out, again, primal brain assumes it's a bear. Whether we have to fight the bear or run from the bear, that's going to take a lot of exercise, won't it? Okay. And so exercise is already built in to help kind of reset that stress system. If you can get in, just 15 minutes or better would be 30 of a morning and then maybe also in the afternoon, it's going to help kind of calm down that fight or flight response, the sympathetic nervous system, and boost up that parasympathetic. Take exercises if it's medicine, seriously. Now, in fact, if that afternoon exercise, if you can time that 3 to 4 hours before bedtime, it might actually help you sleep better. When the sympathetic nervous system, when fight or flight is running, can we sleep real well? Of course not. If you're running from a bear, do you stop and take a nap? No, those people got eaten by bears. We're not descended from them. We're descended from the people that knew to keep going. Okay. And so, whenever you get that exercise in, primal brain assumes we got away from the bear. Now that sympathetic can come down while the parasympathetic nervous system kicks up. And that's what returns the body to homeostasis. That's where we have the ability to really fall asleep and rest. Okay. So, try to get some physical exercise. As I said, 15 minutes, 30 minutes of a morning, 15 to 30. But truthfully, guys, even 7 can help. Seriously, who can't afford 7 minutes? Now, here's one of those CYA statements that I have to do. Make sure before you start any diet or exercise program, you check in with your physician first to make sure that it's healthy for you. Number 4, laughter. Laughter really is the best medicine. How many times do you see people running for their life from a bear and they're giggling? Not too often, right? They probably got caught by bears and we're not related to them. Okay. Laughter is the best medicine. Laughter tells primal brain that the bear can't be here. Okay. So make sure you're watching comedy movies right now. Watch funny stand up comedians, funny YouTube videos, like on Sailing Psych, the humor section. I need to put some more on there. But seriously, get together with friends, cut up, play a board game that always seems to make you laugh. Seriously, it's an old saying and there's so much truth to it. Laughter really is the best medicine. Some prescription medicines can help. Now, I tend to reserve those for very severe reactions, physiological and emotional reactions. But ultimately, folks, that's between you and your physician. Okay, that's between you and your prescriber. So talk to them to see what's right for you. So there you have it, folks. A few things to be focused on while you're trying to cope with this major stressor that just happened. Remember to avoid those negative behaviors that end up just causing us more problems in the long run. Make sure you get in with your psychologist or your counselor. Talk to your physician if you need to. In the meantime, while you're just trying to keep your head above water, eat healthy, sleep healthy, exercise, laughter. Okay. If you have a specific question, folks, feel free to put it down in the comments section for me. Now, I'm not going to do therapy via YouTube comments, but if it's a brief question, I'd be happy to try to field that for you. Okay. In the meantime, folks, I'm thinking about you. I care about you, and I want you living the best life possible. Fair winds, following seas. Don't forget to find that sailboat. Dock out.